Okay, what I'm going to be making is a 6-serving turkey pot pie dish. It has 17 ingredients. What started off as 15 has now turned into 17. That excludes the pie crust. So what we're going to start with is 22 ounces of turkey, just cut up. You can cut that up size that you would like. And then for our, and that turkey's already seasoned. It's actually leftover frozen turkey. The day of Thanksgiving, I froze this in a vacuum sealed package and thawed it out, and diced it up so it's all ready to go. So for our base, we're going to use a can of cream of chicken. I'm using one 15-ounce can of just regular mixed vegetables. You can use frozen or fresh. If you use fresh, I do recommend sauteing them, dicing them up and sauteing them really well. Half a can of cream of celery. Shiitake mushrooms, and that's 2 ounces. A little under 2 ounces of red bell pepper diced up. 4 ounces total of yellow onion diced up. 2 1/4 ounces of half and half. And then we have about 2 ounces of turkey broth, and that came right off of the bird after it was done cooking. For the pie crust, I'm going to use a top and a bottom for this in an 8x8 inch pan. And then for our seasonings for the base in our creams here, we're going to use rosemary leaf, thyme, bay leaves, which are not crushed, but they're kind of chopped up or broken up per se. Paprika, black pepper, 2 1/2 tablespoons of butter or margarine. Kicking chicken seasoning, and then a little bit of kosher salt. So this is quite a bit of ingredients here. However, this is a very simple dish to make. Everything is pretty much cooked, so it's just a matter of heating it up in our preheated oven, which is on now, and I have mine set to 350. You can go anywhere from 325 to 375 depending on your oven. If it's gas, I have an electric oven, so I'm going to do 350. And you want to cook it for about 30 minutes. Basically, you want it to be like a pie on the top. Your ingredients are already pre-cooked, so you want it to kind of just be a nice golden brown or dark, however you like on that. So we'll go ahead and get started. This is approximately 6 servings. It could be more, it could be less, depending on the size that pieces that you're cutting. So we'll go ahead and get started with this tasty dish right here, right now. Okay, first of all, what I'm going to do is put my margarine in here and let that start melting down. And I'm just going to turn this around to help this out a little bit, just to get that bottom nice and glaze there so I can add the other ingredients. Now this doesn't have to be melted all the way. Next I'm going to add my base. And that's our half a can of cream of mushroom. I'm sorry, cream of celery, I'm sorry. And then our cream of chicken. This is a full can of the cream of chicken. And you're going to want to just have this at a simmer, not really a boil per se. And if you need any other type of cream soup or base in there, which we may, it kind of depends, because I'm using a little bit of about a 1/4 pound of turkey more than I normally would use. I would suggest adding cream of mushroom, or another half a can of the cream of celery, which would make it a full can of cream of celery. Go ahead and put our onions in there. Those in there. And this just needs to be on a very low, just enough to get it hot, because these were frozen veggies. Now if these were fresh, you would need to have these veggies go in first to saute them. There's our mushrooms. Those have been steamed. Again, if you are using fresh vegetables, or you're cutting up your onions, your mushrooms, what have you, put your veggies in there prior to your cream soup. Okay. Go ahead and put our turkey broth in there. And what I'm going to do now is give this a little stir, mix that up. Get that mixed up before I put my seasonings in there. And you can kind of season this according to how you would like it to taste. There's one more additional seasoning I just thought of that I'm going to add, and it is totally optional. If you want to add it, fine. If not, the dish will be okay without it, and that is sage. Sage is good in a chicken or turkey based dishes, but you don't want to use very much. So I'm going to start with my dry ingredients now. This is just a little bit of sage. Just enough to add a little color to it, and it'll add a little flavor. You definitely don't want to go over on that. I'll go ahead and add my thyme. And these are just ingredients that you're just adding to small amounts. A little bit of thyme in there. Rosemary leaf, another ingredient you do not want to use too much of. And it looks like thyme, so be very careful. Matter of fact, with this, I'm just going to put this in the hand and put in there so I know exactly how much is going there in there, because it does look similar to the thyme. And this can really overwhelm a dish, but this is actually the key to making a pot pie taste like a pot pie instead of a creamed chicken or turkey based pie. It gives it a very distinct flavor. Okay, and this is bay leaf. And bay leaf just helps with flavoring and also with tendering. And just add a little bit of that. Go ahead and put our pepper in there. Paprika. Kosher salt. Okay, now what I'm going to do is stir this up again, and then I'm getting ready to add the turkey, and that will determine at that point if I need to add any more cream soup in there. And then we're half and half will go in there when we do the turkey. Now, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is put my pie crust. I'm going to let this sit with a lid on it for about 5 minutes and get the pie crust together. So that way, that'll be ready to feel and go in the oven shortly after we come back to this. So we'll go ahead and get the pie crust started. Okay, looking good, looking good. Alright, and that has a hell of an aroma. Excuse my language there, but that has a really good aroma. That rosemary is just kicking. You can smell it. And this is a good time, like I say, to keep these extra little spoons around to do your little taste thing, so you don't have to be dipping. And give it a little taste. Just right. The rosemary and the thyme does need to cook down a little bit, but that will in the baking process. Okay, now what we're going to do is go ahead and add our turkey, a little bit at a time. Say I'll add about half of that. Give it a stir. And like I say, at this point is where it will determine if you need to add any more cream soup or not. And I don't believe we're going to need to, fortunately. Okay. Alright. We'll go ahead and give this another stir. And you just want to fold that turkey into that base there, and vice versa, to get it saturated. You don't want to leave pieces unscathed per se. Okay, now this is where I'll put my kicking chicken. You don't have to use this if you don't want to, but I am going to add a little bit of this. And then I'm going to also add my half and half, and that's just going to go as a thickener while this is in the oven. I'm going to go with a little bit more pepper. Mix this up good. And then our veggies will be last, and then we'll fill that pie crust, cover it up, and stick it in the oven. Okay. Go ahead and add the veggies in there. And as you can see, this is why this is probably going to be pretty close to a 6-serving dish, because this is quite filling. You can add more veggies too if you would like. If I had another can, I actually would put 2 cans in this. But since I don't, and I don't feel like cutting up fresh vegetables, sauteing them, carrots and onions and all that, I have more of those, but I'm not going to do all that. Okay, so I'm going to let this sit back in the pot for about another 10 minutes, just to kind of let it sit. And this is a dish, I'm going to turn this off though, I'm not going to have this on, I'm going to turn it off and just let it sit and let those flavors start to overlap and intertwine amongst each other. And keep in mind, this is a dish that I am not eating at obviously 10:30 tonight. I'm not going to eat this. This is going to be dinner for tomorrow. It's one of those dishes that tastes better the next day. I'm a big fan of things that taste better the next day. If you haven't noticed from some of my other videos, I speak on that quite often. So we'll go ahead, I'm going to let this sit for about 10 minutes, and then come back and we'll go ahead and fill that pie crust up, cover it up with the other crust on the top, and stick this baby in the oven. Okay, now here we have our pie crust. Now this doesn't have to look perfect. You're not going to see this. And basically, some people just actually don't even put a crust on the bottom of this, but I am, for this particular one. Usually when I make it though, like I say, I don't even put a crust on the bottom. But since there was 2 in the package, I'll go ahead and that's why I'm going to use both of these. So basically, and this is a greased pan. It was a grease sprayed pan here. So we'll go ahead and go back to our filling now and see where we're at with that. Okay. So what we want to do now, as you can see, this has solidified more. And what I'm going to do is just take this and just fill this up. And again, this was 22 ounces, or a pound and about 1/4. 1 1/4 pound of turkey meat, diced up, or cubed rather. As you can see, it kind of shreds a little bit too, which is fine. There's still a lot of nice chunks in there too. And you can add pretty much any vegetable to this you want. Potatoes are good, onions, spinach. You can put anything in a pot pie, actually. Throw some greens off in there if you want. Just make sure if you do that the veggies you put in there are drained very good, or if they're fresh, they can just be sauteed. If you get some fresh collards or whatever, put off in there. Or spinach or something like that. Bell peppers, if there's anything fresh produce, just make sure it's cut up and sauteed before you put it in here. Don't just put it, because you're basically just heating everything up. You're not cooking these items. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to put my crust on the top like so. If I didn't know any better, I would think I was a perfect baker doing that. However, that is not the case. That just happened to lay on there like that. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and get the sides off of here. And just kind of fill in where there are any openings at, like in this corner. Fill that in. A little opening there. And I'm going to make slits in the top of this. And it just peels right off. And then this little bit that's left, you can throw it away or you can put it on top if you like. However, it's up to you. I am going to make some slits in the top of this, and that's just so some of those juices can kind of boil out of that, or simmer out of it. It shouldn't boil out, but kind of just some little air holes in there. Okay. And this just being the extra piece of crust, I'm just going to put that in there. I'm not going to, just kind of fill that in. Okay, so we don't have to throw it away. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in our preheated oven, which, as I mentioned, mine is on 350. Put it in there for 30 minutes. Come back and check it. No more than, I'd say, 45 minutes. You just want the crust to get brown. If it seems like it's not getting brown quick enough, then I suggest you put your oven, set it to broil, and it will eventually get brown on the top then. But you don't want to put both settings on broil, just your oven top burner to broil. So, and then put it on a temperature of, say, 200 or 250 just to get the top brown. You don't want them broil and broil, because otherwise this is going to be very, very crunchy and probably dark brown. Alright, so we'll go ahead and put this in the oven, come back and check on it in 30 minutes and see what it's hitting for. Okay, here's the finished product. Now, what I'm going to do, that's nice and golden brown on the top, I have some honey and butter. And I'm just going to brush the top of this with that honey and butter. And it'll get into the crust, and when we eat this tomorrow, that's going to have a little bit of that taste throughout. Make sure I get around the edges good, so that butter goes down in there with that honey in there, and this baby is going to be delicious. Okay, and basically just going to brush that like so. And actually, if you want to eat this right now, you can, but like I say, we're going to have this for dinner tomorrow. Them flavors are going to really be doubly locked in, If the doubly is a word. If not, it is now. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. Okay. So there we have it. A nice hearty turkey pot pie with honey butter on the top. We'll dig in tomorrow, and I'll give you my honest opinion of what it tastes like when we check it out. Okay, and here we have the finished product. Nice thick turkey pot pie. Got all them ingredients down in there like that. And it's very tender. Very delicious. And it has a crust on the bottom also. So there you have it. Turkey pot pie. Go check it out.